And I come in for the whole history from the family.
Tell us about the whole family. Yep. Start.
Ready?
Yep.
Going to start with my name, yes? My name is Sam Belik. My tat's name was Yehide Belik. Dann gewesen 5 Brüder und 2 Schwestern. Tat ist gewesen der Älteste, gewesen Chaim, gewesen Shmuel, gewesen Yagi und gewesen Moshe. Die Schwestern, which is my Yiddish version.
Well, English probably better.
So,
Right, that's easy to understand. Same thing in English.
We also had 2 sisters, which were one called Shaila, the other one Yehide.
These are your sisters. No, your father's
Father's sister. Die Mami, in der Heim Weidwasser, hat gehabt noch 2 Schwestern, die sind gewesen Shevi, so Siesel, die hat auch gehabt 2 Brüder, Moshe und Shmuel. Das Leben ist gewesen so leicht, aber verjagen, to compare it to the other Jewish people which lived in a very little small town, we were well off. We weren't rich, but we weren't hungry, and we had just about everything what we needed at these particular days. There was no hot water services, there were no water running through the taps, there was no sanitation, there was no light.
What's the name of the town?
But what you don't know, the town was a little town, it's called Rayogit. What we didn't know, we didn't need. And we had a small butcher shop, a kosher butcher shop. My father used to be in a particular shul was a Gabe, and we had to go just about every Saturday to Dublin, and every Yom Tov, and all the Jewish holidays as well. And life was going on till about early 30s. A man of mine and one of my uncles died, and
I want to know about the dad's family.
shortly afterwards, which it was in 1936, being sick, my father been sick for a long time, and she died. Myself, the youngest of the younger brother, and I believe there was about 9 of us, who either they were born a long time before us, but my oldest sister, which I've known, was Surah Zisru. The other sister was Uruhu. My brother's name was Moshe. I was after him, and then another sister, which I can't recollect her name. But I believe, and this is for sure, we also had another 4 children, which apparently they were all boys. And I can't remember ever seeing them, except I've heard the family say. I still remember their names. It was Yerichim, Maya, Yoson. I believe there were 4, which I've never met. They must have been born before. Anyways, 5 survived until the war broke out. When the war broke out,
And what do you think happened to those four? They all.
Those four, they must have died before I even met them. Either before they were born or after they were born, but I can't recollect all those things. The war started. We wanted all of us wanted to go to Russia, but my mother didn't like this idea. So we stayed in we stayed in Germany, in Poland, under the German occupation. Things were terrible. There was a lot of work, lot of beatings, a lot of roundups. The Jewish population shrunk every time there were some roundups for Jewish, and we luckily tried to omit this. I went to work to different labor camps. Sometimes been away for 3 months or 4 months, and sometimes just work for the day and come back. We're chopping woods, working in a sawmill, working in a sugar factory, a cement factory. I did all those things until one day they round up. This was supposed to be the end of the particular roundup. So my brother and myself were hiding under a floor. My three sisters and a mother grabbed their belongings, and they're supposed to have been taken 4 or 5 kilometers to the station to be deported to an unknown destination.
Yeah.
On the way home, on the way to the station, they decided to dump everything, and they ran away about 3 kilometers from the town. And at night, and myself and my brother decided to run away into a small village, which we stayed overnight. And next morning, my brother decided to go back to town and get something out from home, and he never returned. I believe the Germans took him away to so they ran away to some known Aryans, but while they were there, they overheard them saying that at night they're going to take him out and kill them. So they ran away, and my sister on the way there had a nervous break, and she ran into a river. She wanted to drown herself. Anyways, we met up the same day where I was there, some kilometers away from home, and we decided to walk along railway line at night, at least 15 kilometers, where a few Jews were still living there. We stayed there for a few days.
Who was with you then? Who was with you then?
The family, the mother and the three sisters. The Jewish population, which they were rounded up, some of them were burned alive in the synagogue, and some were taken to camps. But after that, supposed to be some at least 20 or 30 Jews were supposed to stay behind in the ghetto to work for the Germans. So in the meantime, all which they ran away from town, they found out there's still some Jewish in the ghetto. They started to come back, so did we. And we
Back
worked
to Rayovich.
in the little town. Some worked in the, when I made the vodka, and we worked in the sugar factories. And we also worked for the Germans. And I worked in a sawmill for about a couple of years, and every now and again they round up some more Jews and shot them on the spot and took them out to the forest. And one of my sisters got caught in this roundup, the older one, and she has not, we've never heard or seen anything from her. So we've already lost two from our family, one myself, older sister, my younger sister, and the mother. Mother didn't work there, so wasn't a little sister. She must have been only about 10 then. And day in and day out, all those roundups were taking place. We worked, we had enough to eat, and we eventually survived. And then a guy took some people out, dug trenches, and they shot him. So in 1943, we found out there was a big trench already been dug, which I was helping after work. They used to round up some people and dig the trenches, and we found out that they're supposed to be liquidated next day or day after or a week or so afterwards. So some of our friends, which they worked as auto mechanic, worked for the Nazis. He found out and he told them, he said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to shoot you because you were too good. You were good workers. But instead, next morning, they ran up the ghetto and they took us all to Majdanek. Majdanek was a selection which I've lost the mother and the younger sister. She's not for sure. The other sister, I met them 1 week or so afterwards. From a long distance, I talked to her in sign language or something, and I have never seen her ever there. And I don't think she has survived. So far, I haven't heard or anything about it. The rest of the uncles and the aunties, 2 of them went to Russia. One with the family survived. The other one got caught. One was with his family in Israel. The uncle and the auntie already died, and also one of the cousins. 2 cousins are still there from one family. The other one is still 3 families. The 3 cousins left.
Where were the cousins? Where were the cousins?
3 cousins. One is Huma, Reila, and Necha. And the other uncles, there were 3 sisters. Hannah, which she only died recently, and Pesha and Miriam. Hannah was in Russia during the war, and Pesha and Miriam were hiding somewhere in Poland at some iron trains or whatever. And so I was only left with my sister, and I don't know what had happened. Then they took me over to Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, they took me to Buna, which I stayed from 1943 till 1945. And in 1945, I decided to liquidate all the camps, and I took us on marches through to different camps which had already been moved further into Germany. We stayed there 1 day, and then I went with a transport to Buchenwald. In Buchenwald, stayed about 3 weeks, and then they were looking for some tribesmen. And I asked for electricians, and I said, I'm one of them. So they took us to another camp, which it wasn't so harsh. There were no crematoriums there. There was a mixed camp with Poles and Jews. We stayed there for some weeks. We walked to work. We were building underground factories as the Allies were bombarding them. And one day we had to leave that camp, and we went to Hanover into Hermann Goering working. We only managed to stay overnight. They put us on a transport on the way to Belgium. From Belgium to Belgium, from Hanover, with another transport of women from Ravensbrück. We were bombarded near Celle.
By who? The Allies?
By the Allies, the English aeroplanes. We knew that was there. We could see the destruction which they did. They hit a refinery in Hanover. I've seen this all. Some of the inmates were killed by bombs. Some of them ran into forest, and when it quietened down, they circled all left, the one which were still survived. They rounded us up, and they marched us for 3 days to Belsen. On the way to Belsen, we already heard that Buchenwald was liberated, and it took us there, and that was a real hell. There is no food, there is no one to talk to, there is nothing to do. What you've seen is hundreds and hundreds and thousands of corpses. The crematorium couldn't manage to burn them all. To the dark trenches, and they took someone which was still alive, they gave him a belt to drag the others to the grave. And if they made it, they did come back, and if they did make it, they stayed there behind. And that hell lasted for about 3 weeks until the 15th of May, 1945. We were all liberated by the English army. But that was not the finish of it. We all rushed for food, we all rushed for different things, and most of us died. They got diphtheria, they got typhus, but the real trouble started in now, and trying to find out who's left and what's left from us, who to turn to, or who to speak to. And going back to Poland, I had no one to go to, had nothing to look for, so I decided to stay in Belgium for a few months. Then I worked in that big warehouse we supplied for the whole 5,000 or 6,000 inmates. I met some friends, I met some neighbors from town, and then I decided to met the present wife, went to the
Present wife?
Yeah.
Paula.
Yeah, Tala. And we decided to leave for the American zone, which we stayed till 1949. And then we came over to Australia, which we had to start everything all over again, but at least we were in a free country. We worked and we started a family, but I'm also glad I've got 3 brothers, and I'm glad I've got a terrific good family. And that's it.